Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and what we've got here is the Knipex 2881 280 millimeter long, kind of an elegant, narrow, long needle nose plier with a handful of tricks up its sleeve on the front end. This thing, similar to my snap-on one, but the snap-on's, more of a barren desert when you get out to the workings on the end. This guy's got a bunch of things happening. First of all, let's take a look at the mechanism here. What you've got is the pivot quite a ways out from the handles, and by doing that it extends the length, but it also causes the handles to expand, maybe taking up the space in a constricted environment. Some solutions to that might be the double articulation of some of these. This one here is a crescent, and then sometimes you keep the pivot more in the middle and have the really long blades here. This one kind of an exceedingly long exceedingly long handle right down the center, but once they start to expand, you run into that problem. But if you look at that, just the narrowness, that's what it's designed for. If you can get a hold of whatever it is with, a half inch or less of space up here, then you can, probably fit this into anything that pivot can fit through. But anyway, on this thing, obviously you notice some stuff happening up at the front end. First of all, it's a 45-degree angle. That is great. I was using this the other day. It allowed me, I was doing some work on a tailgate rear or backup camera, and I needed to feed a cable through, actually, and get a cable clip, and this actually could reach around the intersection between the tailgate and the vehicle body, or the bed when the tailgate was open, and actually solved that problem quite easily. But anyway, as we look at this, we've got kind of a grabbing, hex grabbing area down here, and then we've got different sized ovals, or what those actually are just arcs that fit a circumference of different sized circles. And then you've got this thing up at the front that's more of a diamond shape or a square, and then you've got the traditional kind of crosshatch, or not crosshatch, textured tips on the front end of these. So let's take a close look at what these can do. Obviously, this down here easily grabs a hex bolt and it holds it. Now that's not unusual. Snap-on's got one. In fact, I have an old Snap-on that does that. It's actually quite handy. And anytime you start increasing the arc on the edge of the blade, you also have some kind of torsional rigidity that you don't have when you put something into a flat blade, because then, we all know these just spin freely in here. Yeah, here's my old Snap-on one. I don't know if we can read the Snap-on on that somewhere. But anyway, that's an early prototype of one, or an early version of one. Love it. But this guy here has the ability, if you spread the jaws pretty wide. Now this area right here is really loose, wonderfully loose, and then it gets progressively stiffer out to the end. I don't know if that's design or will loosen up. But anyway, this will hold a pretty big nut if you can, you got the mitts to grab a hold of that. It's not designed for it. This is a low-tech tool, and in fact, there's a lot of spring. I don't know if you can see that in this handle. It's pretty springy. It's more springy than my Snap-on. There's some spring there, but that's pretty bouncy. But anyway, what I like about this, if you look at these areas, if you grab any kind of a rod or a circle, this thing is rock solid in there. It cannot move this way easily because it would have to space the jaws. If I put it in a little bit lower one, you can see how tight that fits in there. So you have some really good manipulation with anything round. And obviously, if you put it into a traditional plier, it's going to slip around. There's almost no way to hold it solid with a plier like that. and you've got different choices. And then this one, if you had something with edges or square or a small, I don't have anything that came to mind that I've got that fits that, but you could see you could really hold it tight out at the end. Maybe a cotter pin profile is kind of that direction. And then of course you've got the nice blades on this thing right up front. I just pinched myself. That's pretty common with needle nose. If you're working, sometimes you're manipulating the tips and you're working with your hand in front of the pivot. So a lot of pliers in the needle nose area may or may not have cutters on them. And that's, in fact, some of them are offered with cutters and without. I know Snap-on does that on some of theirs. But that's simply because there's a chance, you don't want to turn a pinch into a loss of skin or, really injure yourself. But sometimes it would be really handy if you had cutters. I've grabbed pliers thinking, there'd be cutters, and nope, there aren't. So this one doesn't have cutters. It also has this little grabber thing right down at the bottom that's kind of cute. So I imagine maybe you could, if you needed to hold something tiny at this area, it does have some possibilities. But anyway, beautiful craftsmanship, reasonably priced. I think I paid about a little over $30 for them. I don't know how easily you can repeat that price. It always seems when I post something the price goes through the roof. But anyway, I really like them. They're lightweight, very well machined, super smooth, and then lots of different options. Once you're inside a small restrictive area or reaching in, you have more choices than you do with something like that. Anyway, I thought I'd bring them to your attention. I'm happy I got them. And with that, Doc out.